We sometimes encounter questions about a historical entity known as Caucasian Albania and why it appears on maps of late antiquity. Indeed, long before the modern state of Albania in the Balkans and the figure of Skanderbeg, there was another country with the identical name located in the South Caucasus, with no known connection to its Balkan namesake. In this video, we will explore the history of Caucasian Albania and detail the significant role it played in the Roman Parthian and Roman Sassanid geopolitical rivalries, as well as its involvement during the initial stages of Muslim expansion. The Caucasian Mountains and the broader Caucasus region were defined in ancient Greek thought as a harsh yet bountiful landscape, frequently featuring in their mythology. Prometheus was famously punished by the gods, being chained to the Caucasian Mountains for sharing the secret of fire with humanity. Jason and his Argonauts traveled to the area in pursuit of the Golden Fleece from Caucasus. The Amazons were also mentioned as one of the tribes inhabiting the mountains. Broadly speaking, the Caucasus was perceived by the ancient Greeks as a distant boundary of the known world, resulting in few reliable historical descriptions of the area. Historical records from the late 1st millennium BCE began to mention Albanians as one of the groups populating the Caucasus. Albania is understood as a geographical region covering the territory between the river Kura and the area now recognized as the Northern Caucasus. Thus, the geographical term Albania corresponds to the north of the modern state of Azerbaijan and the southern parts of Dagestan in the Russian Federation. Depending on the era, the political term Albania sometimes extended beyond its initial geographical boundaries, covering the area south of the river Kura as well. We will consistently use the term Caucasian Albania, as is standard in modern historiography, solely to prevent confusion with the state of Albania in the Balkans, with which it shares no historical links. The Battle of Gaugamela in 331 BCE is the earliest historical event in which the Albanians are mentioned in the sources. According to these accounts, the Albanians fought in the army of Darius III against Alexander the Great under the command of Atropates, the satrap of the Achaemenid Empire of Media. This strongly suggests that Caucasian Albania, as a geographical unit, was under the heavy influence of the Achaemenid Empire, and archaeological evidence supports this, pointing to similarities in architectural styles. Direct mention of the Albanians emerges in the 1st century BCE in Plutarch's narrative of Lucullus's time in the Caucasus and then Pompey's campaign in the east. Roman sources mention the name of a specific Albanian king, Oroeses, who fought Pompey's army in 65 BCE. The early contact between the Romans and the Albanians is further confirmed by the Latin military inscription on the stone in Gobustan, made during the reign of Emperor Domitian by a Roman centurion, which marks the easternmost evidence of Roman expansion. Strabo also commented on the military capability of the Albanians, comparing it to their Iberian and Armenian neighbors. They fight, however, on foot and on horseback, both in light and in heavy armor, like the Armenians. They can send into the field a larger army than the Iberians, for they can equip 60,000 infantry and 22,000 horsemen. With such a force, they offered resistance to Pompey. The nomads also cooperate with them against foreigners, as they do with the Iberians on similar occasions. They use javelins and bows and wear breastplates, shields, and coverings for the head, made of the hides of wild animals, like the Iberians. Strabo does not mention any cities in Albania, but Pliny was the first historian to mention the capital of Albania, Kabalaka, modern Gabala, in the 1st century AD. Later, Ptolemy provided a list of 29 cities of Albania, including Gangara, Albana, Osika, and Chemakia. It seems that in the 1st century AD, Albania was under the strong influence of Rome. In 36 AD, following an unsuccessful revolt against Roman authority, Albania was absorbed into the Roman Empire as a protectorate. However, while Albania was a very remote periphery for Rome, it was the immediate neighborhood of Parthia which sought to control it. During the 1st century AD, Albania was under the cultural and commercial influence of their southern neighbors, evidenced by the widespread use of Parthian coins in Albania. This was the period when branches of the Parthian Arsacid dynasty began ruling in the Caucasian states. In 12 AD, the Arsacids began ruling in Armenia, and in 189 AD, they took power in Iberia. The precise date for the start of the Arsacid dynasty's rule in Caucasian Albania is debated, and the events leading to its rise are not entirely clear. By then, another power was rising in Persia, as the Sassanid dynasty had overthrown the Parthians. In the 3rd century AD, the Sasanian Shah, Shapur I, conquered and annexed Albania, Armenia, and Iberia. Shapur's trilingual inscription at Naqsh-e-Rostam clearly identified Albania as being within the domain of the newly consolidated Sasanian Empire. The rise in strength of the Sasanian Empire in the east was inevitably going to lead to renewed conflict with the Romans. The Romans decisively defeated the Sassanids in the 296 to 299 Roman-Sassanid War, resulting in the signing of the Treaty of Nisibis. According to the treaty, Armenia was transferred to the Roman Empire, Iberia became a Roman protectorate, while Albania remained within the Sasanian Empire. It is plausible that while the Sassanids were recovering from their defeat, the Romans may have exploited the vacuum power in the region to install a friendly Arsacid king in Albania, much like the Arsacid representatives in Armenia and Iberia, who essentially served as Roman proxies. The 4th century was significant for the increased official recognition of Christianity globally. In 313, the Roman Emperor Constantine legalized Christianity within the empire, and 10 years later adopted it as an official religion of the empire. Sometime in the early 4th century, the Arsacid king of Armenia, Tridat III, officially adopted Christianity, having been converted by Saint Gregory the Illuminator. According to historian Moses Kalankatwatsi, later in the 4th century, the then king of Albania, Urnayir, traveled to Armenia with his dignitaries to be baptized by Saint Gregory. However, Christianity had already been gradually spreading in Albania even before this event. The exact level of Albania's dependency on the Sasanian Empire is debatable. In the 330s, Sassanids were actively trying to reassert their dominance in the Caucasus, intervening in the struggle between two candidates for the Armenian throne following the death of King Tridat III, with the goal of installing another Arsacid named Sanatruk on the Armenian throne. Despite formally being a Sassanid subject, the king of Caucasian Albania at the time, Vachagan, adopted a stance similar to that of Rome and Armenia. Coupled with the Albanian defiance against the Sassanids in this episode, the arrival of the bishop of Albania and Iberia, Gregoris, Saint Gregory's grandson, for the purpose of initiating the institutionalization of the church in Albania, including his construction of a church in the Albanian city of Chiri, and the appointment of priests there, provoked Sassanid anger. This led to a Sassanid-supported uprising in the Albanian city of Chiri against the Albanian king, and consequently resulted in the resubmission of the Albanian king to the Sassanids. While the Albanian king initially supported the Roman position, there were also pro-Sassanid factions within the Albanian nobility, a pattern common across all three countries of the Caucasus.
subsequent steps were taken to establish close dynastic ties between the Albanian Arsacid and the Sassanids, as the Albanian king Urnayir was married to the daughter of the Sassanid Shah, Shapur II. This likely marked the beginning of very close dynastic relations, as marriages between these two royal houses became a regular occurrence. The Roman domination of the Caucasus was short-lived, as Shapur II would challenge the Romans in the mid-3rd century. Sources confirm that Albanians were significantly integrated in the Sasanian army in connection with the siege of Amida in 359. Quote, "Close by Shapur II on the left went Grumbates, king of the Chionatites, a man of moderate strength, it is true, and with shriveled limbs, but of a certain greatness of mind and distinguished by the glory of many victories. On the right was the king of the Albani, of equal rank, high in honor." End quote.
The mentioned king was likely Urnair, who, despite converting to Christianity, was heavily involved in the Roman-Sassanid wars on the Sassanid side. Sources mention the Caucasian Albanian army commanded by him participating in the Battle of Zirav of 371, possibly with the aim of adding Armenian-controlled territories in the Caucasus to Albania. Ultimately, the Romans were largely expelled from the Caucasus, as the Sassanids gained the upper hand throughout the wars between the two empires in the 4th century. The Peace of Asolene was signed in either 387 or 384, resulting in Iberia returning under Sassanid control, while Armenia was divided between the two empires. Albania remained within the Sassanid Empire, with the entire right bank of the Kura River up to the Aras River being transferred to Albania. From this point onwards, Albania's level of independence within the Sassanid Empire likely saw a gradual decrease. While the Albanian king was a vassal of the Sassanid Shahenshah, the Shahenshah would also appoint a Marzban, a governor who held ultimate political, legal, financial, and religious authority in Albania. The Marzban's seat was in Partav, also known as Perozabad, following the city's reconstruction by the Albanian king Vace at the Shahenshah's command. It became a major commercial and artistic center of the region until the Varangian raid on it in the 10th century. Initially, the Sassanids did not view Christianity as a threat, but the increasing spread of Christianity in the empire, coupled with the Roman claim to be the guardian of all Christians globally, including those within the Sassanid Empire, altered this perception. The Sasanian Shahenshah worried that his Christian subjects' loyalty lay with the Roman Christians. In 449, this led to Yazdegerd II issuing a proclamation requiring all Christian citizens of the empire to convert to Zoroastrianism. Albanians, Armenians, and Iberians rebelled against the Sassanid Empire, leading to the decisive battle on the plains of Avarayr, modern-day northwestern edge of Iran, in 451. The Christian Caucasian coalition was defeated, and a direct consequence of this loss was the conversion of the Albanian king Vace II to Zoroastrianism. However, as soon as Peroz I took the Sassanid throne in 459, Vace II reverted to Christianity and opened the Darban Pass to the Masagetai tribes, launching an attack on the Sassanid army. In retaliation, Peroz I allowed the White Huns through the Darial Pass into Albania, leading to the country's devastation. After almost 3 years of destructive conflict, Peroz I offered peace. Vace II was permitted to remain Christian, but had to agree to surrender his mother, who was Peroz's sister, and his wife to the Sassanid court. Following this, Vace II withdrew from the world, and Caucasian Albania remained without a king for nearly 30 decades. Only after this period did the Sasanian Shahenshah Balash decide to reinstate an Arsacid Albanian on the Albanian throne.
Balazs was more tolerant towards Christianity, and the Nurvasak peace treaty between Balazs and the Armenian rebels effectively re-legalized Christianity in the empire, allowing Vagagan III and the Caucasian Albanian Christians to practice their religion more freely. Vagagan III the Pious, son of Yazdegerd II and brother of Vace II, became the last Arsacid ruler of Albania. He was known for his religious zeal, waging war against Zoroastrianism and paganism in his realm, and initiating the Aguan Church Council sometime between 484 and 488. This council produced a 21-paragraph codex detailing the structure of the church in Albania, its legal standing, and its relationship with the state. This can be viewed as the period establishing the autocephalous Albanian Christian Church. We do not know the exact circumstances under which the reign of the last Arsacid Albanian king, Vagagan III, ended, but it occurred at the beginning of the
It is generally assumed that for roughly a century following the end of the Arsacid dynasty in Albania, the country was ruled directly by the Sassanid Marzbans. This century saw Albania and the rest of the Caucasus become a battleground for three mighty empires, the Byzantines, the Sassanids, and the Khazars. The Christian nobility of Albania sought support from the Byzantines as their fellow Christians. In 575, an Albanian delegation visited Emperor Justinian II in Constantinople, asking him to incorporate Albania into the Byzantine Empire, but this proposal was rejected, as Justinian II instructed them to remain under Sassanid rule. The next significant information about Albania is recounted by Moses Kalankatua. According to him, in the early 7th century, Albanian noblemen rebelled against Sassanid rule, but the revolt was defeated, and rebellious noblemen, including the Albanian Katolikos Viroi, were held captive for 25 years at the Sassanid court. In 627, the Khazars invaded Albania and summoned the Marzban Sema Vixnas and the Katolikos Viroi to the Khazar camp established in Uti. The Katolikos accepted the summons and appears to have established good relations with the Khazars. However, by 629, Sassanids managed to expel the Khazars and re-establish control over Albania. It seems that at this time, Katolikos Viroi was the most influential figure in Albania, likely due to the good relations he built with the Sassanids during his captivity, or simply due to his authority as the church leader. Whatever the reason, the Katolikos was instrumental in the effective establishment of the rule of the Miranid dynasty in Albania after bestowing the title of Prince of Albania on Varaz Grigor around the same period. This move was either accepted or ordered by the Sassanid court. Less than a decade later, he was deposed by the Sassanids in favor of Yavanshir, whose name meant young lion in Persian, and who had been the Shahenshah's ward in Ctesiphon and commander of the Albanian military units within the Sassanid army. Historians note Javanshir's important role in the Arab-Sassanid War during the Battle of Qadisiyah and the Siege of Ctesiphon, during which he helped to evacuate Shahenshah Yazdegerd III from the city. But before the final battle of Nahavand in 642, Javanshir realized the futility of resistance against the Arab Caliphate and returned to Albania, where he sought the protection of the Byzantine Empire, which bestowed the title of Patrikios upon Javanshir and recognized him as the ruler of his country. This proved largely ineffective as the Arab Caliphate managed to establish control over the Caucasus by the 650s, with Javanshir accepting their suzerainty. Following his death at the hands of rival Albanian noblemen in the 680s, Albania largely ceased to exist as a separate polity, as it was incorporated into the Umayyad Caliphate as a single province together with Armenia. This situation gradually led to a weakening of Christianity and the spread of Islam in the Caucasus, particularly in the plains of modern-day Azerbaijan. More videos on ancient civilizations are on the way, so make sure you are subscribed and have pressed the bell button to see it. Please consider liking, commenting, and sharing. It helps immensely. Our videos would be impossible without our kind patrons and YouTube channel members whose ranks you can join via the links in the description to know our schedule and get early access to our videos.